Get off.
Before they started making their way
Take
up
off
into
your...
the mountain pass here. Again, it's a very windy canyon road here. We're on Angeles, I believe it's Angeles Crest Highway, making our way up towards Big Tahunga.
We're going up the mountains, boy.
Angeles Forest Highway, and we're near Big Tahunga Canyon.
Ooh.
And you can see there's 2 members of the LAPD that are in close proximity. We have more.
Where's everybody at?
More agencies starting to make their way up Angeles Forest
Where
Highway.
Where are you? There's nobody here.
We're just Mount Gleason Road. We're approaching Mount Gleason Road. So Angeles Forest Highway approaching Mount Gleason Road is where we are for right now.
Wake up, wake up.
We'll see if
it's the 5th of the month.
We'll see if this truck opts to make its way all the way into maybe like the Agua Dulce area, maybe into the Antelope Valley, which is kind of the direction that we're headed at this time.
Ooh, going way out there, boy.
So just a very windy road here. You can see it's very steep cliffside out there on the passenger side of the car. So just certainly not a safe road to be going at a high rate of speed here. And we're just listening to radio chatter here, trying to just keep an update on where the locator is. Again, Sheriff's Department is en route to assist the LAPD here as they continue to chase this stolen white.
And as we lose the signal there just for a second, just again, this is a pursuit of what's believed to be a truck that was involved in a carjacking. LAPD Foothill Division had been monitoring this truck, and at about a half an hour ago, maybe 20 minutes ago, they started to pursue it. According to Rich, at least one suspect has jumped out of it. Whoever the driver is and/or any passengers are assumed to be armed and dangerous. They are in the area of Angeles Forest Highway, and it's approaching the Mill Creek Summit picnic area, if I understand the locator correctly. But again, this is a very dangerous situation where you have a windy mountain road through there.
Yeah. Again, we'll have Rich stay over that as best he can, losing the signal in and out on that mountainous road there. Want to check in with Ginger Chan. She's got a look at our traffic as well this morning. Ginger.
And now, traffic.
And I know that Rich is listening to the scanners to get that location, and then soon the handle will change, and that's the reason they're calling the Sheriff's Department to the scene there. But, the driver can keep control because you saw that the bed was full of equipment. You don't want that tipping and then getting into those lanes, debris and that kind of stuff. Let's move you to this 10, the westbound side right at about the 15. So that's where we have reports of the wreck that's now sitting in the carpool 2 left lanes. Considering we have that situation, it was actually a pretty good ride. The 15 is starting to load up, though. We'll move you over to look at the 605 South. This 605 has been, I like to call it like this ride where we always see one freeway in particular just all messed up. It's time it's the 605. Southbound side of Slauson. We do have this wreck that's still sitting in those, let's see, left lanes. Move farther to the south, approaching the 405 split. It's a different crash. In fact, you kind of can see it here. So it sits on that LA County, Orange County border. Most of our Orange County freeways are starting to fill in. Look at that 5 freeway, a little challenging. The drive for you starts as far back as the 91. Not solid red lights, but just enough. And then look at that 405 is totally filled in basically as you leave Westminster and then approaching that 55 split. Then you're kind of back on those brakes again once you get closer into Irvine. We'll watch all those things, continue to track that pursuit. I'll send it back to you guys.
Come on, baby, get the chase back.
Very much. Talking about your forecast now. Cool.
Oh, shit. I have a couple things planned that I'd like to do today, guys, by the way. We're going to see what happens with this chase. Whatever happens, happens. See if they get a signal back. I don't think they are going to get it. Got the scanner audio, too. Saying nothing. A scenic chase.
Air 10, repeat. Six and 81, your location. How do you read it, Curtis? Air 10, you're coming in broken.
Okay, I'm just on the pursuit. If you can read Air 10, switch over to Simplex. There's a lot of communication.
Man, they lost it, man.
Units in the pursuit, switch over to Simplex for Air 10.
Middle control, Air 8. We're climbing up. We're heading over there. We'll try to do relay on base frequencies to update. We're still about 8 minutes away.
Air 8, roger.
Man. I guess this thing's over, man. I don't know. Shoot. Where's my alarm? Oh man. That sucks. Chad. I got the helicopter. Is the helicopter heading out there? When did you move into the house, folks?
Civilian is in the pursuit for Air 10. Switch to Simplex.
I think the chase is still going, man, but there's just no video feed. Oh, wait. We got something here?
Boy, they'll open up lanes, all lanes here soon, but boy, look at the 605 northbound. You don't want to be on that, coming up out of Norwalk, traveling Norwalk Boulevard northbound to Workman Mill. That gets you around it. Rosemead Boulevard for northbound travel. Going to be much better than the 605 northbound. You just don't want to get on that. It is at a standstill. You don't see it in this shot, but the 605 southbound is very heavy as well. You got to plan around that.
There's traffic.
And the OC border with LA County line will be ready for your morning commute come Friday morning. The project
added Simplex, but chances are it's way out of range. Simplex channels are for car to car.
Middle control, Air 8.
Have very limited range. I haven't.
Air 8, go ahead.
I was communicating.
On relay, it looks like that pursuit is at the 14 in Angeles Forest Highway. We're still catching up.
Roger, pursuit now at the 14 freeway, Angeles Forest Highway.
Good morning. What's up, guys? Good morning.
Hey, Control, can you reserve a citywide TAC? We might be able to get better reception as we head into the high desert.
Air 8, roger, standby for citywide TAC.
What the hell?
Air 8, Valley Bureau TAC 1, channel 41. Valley Bureau TAC 1, channel 41 for pursuit. Roger.
Hey, Control, is there a citywide or just a Valley Bureau?
Air 8, standby.
Air 10, come in for the BCC.
I was laying down.
Air 10 on Simplex.
There's something interesting we're gonna cover. So the plan is, because whatever happens with this, then I'm gonna go work out for a little bit, and I'm gonna set up a stream. I'm gonna schedule a stream for, I don't know.
SFO Control, just update Sierra Highway at Pear Blossom right now.
Verify the name of the highway.
Pear Blossom Highway.
Roger, Pear Blossom Highway.
That I'm gonna schedule a stream. I don't know if
Care 8.
Before.
It's going to be Citywide TAC 3, Channel 45.
They're not letting this guy go. Depending on how long this takes, it's either going to be before I pick up the baby or after I pick up the baby.
Control, you might want to get a mutual aid channel just ahead of that. I don't think LAP is going to be able to reach Antelope Valley.
Roger, stand by.
Boy, gone, man. You have to let him go. He's gone. Let him ride. ABC. ABC. There's nothing on ABC.
And northbound Sierra Highway from Bell Springs Road.
Northbound Sierra Highway from Bell Springs Road.
Let him go. I don't know how far they're going to be willing to go. It seems like to get this guy. I think they're trying, but this guy.
Target for LASD, if you have Cal Law to broadcast.
And Foothill, if you could try to broadcast on Citywide Channel 45, you're real broken. We're cresting into Palmdale area, Hub 14.
Roger, Citywide TAC 3, Channel 45. Citywide TAC 3, Channel 45.
Avenue R. At Avenue R, 3
ABC channel. Oh, okay. They're trying to get it. Maybe there's hope. Maybe there's hope after all. A Christmas chase, holiday chase, something.
190 to the airship. Are you up on base?
Air 8, are you on base?
There we go.
1681, 1681 coming.
Really rough signal.
We see where the that is pursuing this, even though it's an LA overhead. The department is not gone. There you go. One getting out of the vehicle. Oh, looks like he may have been hit by the tire, making a run forward, and the vehicle continuing on. So one individual, one suspect jumped out the front door of that truck, may have been actually hit by the truck. It's unclear as we stay on this vehicle whether or not that suspect was taken into custody, but you can bet
Biden's America signal.
There was a patrol car right behind him. So you can tell now this is getting very desperate. We're in Palmdale on East Avenue R, headed eastbound away from the 14, and we didn't see that vehicle hit any other vehicles at that intersection, but the door is still. There's as many as 4 suspects on board. One vehicle. At one time, there was the back of that truck.
Confirm Citywide
and now you see a desperate. on it.
The airship may be able to read, but the ground units are not going to hear you.
Exactly.
Damn, bro. Come on, man. What happened to all the technology and stuff, bro? I mean, I guess they're out in the mountains, but damn. Shouldn't Elon Musk have the Starlink shit for these people? Yeah. Oh my God, it's incredible. It's happening. Oh, this is the hotline of it. Oh my God, you gotta see this. It's crazy. Ah! You can't see nothing. I've never seen anything like it. You're missing out.
Idaho 30, you on citywide TAC 3 for 30 out of 15?
Amazing.
30 IS 15, this is the BCC. Do you have a message?
Media lost signal due to terrain.
Yeah, I'm trying to get a hold of Idaho 30, the airship that was trying to relay.
Anybody on the FGT Sussex and Glen Oaks and Monarchy. Sussex is a male wearing a hooded sweatshirt inside Pierre's stolen vehicle, a 2005 white Chevrolet pickup, 7 Union 31074. 7 Union 31074, code 2 and 1179 and RD 1654.
KTLA. All right, let's say go KTLA. Go, KTLA. There we go. Watch live. Oh, let's go.
Right there at the intersection where the passenger did run out from the vehicle. So we have it.
Oh.
With a carjacking and
Idaho 30. You on citywide TAC 3?
Idaho 30, Idaho 30, 30, Idaho 15 is attempting to contact you in citywide TAC 3, channel 45.
Welcome back today, possibly. And also the plumbing. Make sure you.
Oh, what was it, KTLA? My bad, guys.
Westbound Palmdale, 12th Street East.
All right, we got some signal now, at least, looks like. Oh, driving on the wrong side of the road, I guess? Yeah, it looks like it. Ooh, nasty curve. Little turn there. Got a little, you can tell you got an attitude.
Frank. Yeah, Frank, just I got you back here. So, as he starts to make these erratic, sharp turns, we have to, make some turns with Sky 5 as well. And every once in a while that might interrupt the signal here. But as you just saw, he was in oncoming traffic, barreled through that intersection. Now, for a time there, they did throw out a spike strip. It looked like the truck was able to maneuver around the spike strip. That was maybe about 5 minutes ago, and then shortly after that, we saw at least one passenger run from the vehicle around 105th Street, and we've seen the door open at least. Come
on. 30 minutes. 20 minutes. An hour.
Fifth Street.
You going back on the highway, maybe, or the mountains? Where's he going?
Northbound. Looks like the northbound 14 here, guys. So we're just going to get a little further away from Palmdale. So we're northbound up the 14 from Palmdale Boulevard, I believe it is. So we'll widen out here and see if there's any units directly behind this pickup. I don't see any directly behind. They may have fallen well behind this truck, but they do have at least one air unit, if not two air units, that are overhead, keeping an eye on this white F-150 again suspected in a carjacking. We have the driver, possibly more occupants within the vehicle. There was a time where they were saying there could be 4 people that were in the truck, possibly all armed. We saw one hop out in the Palmdale area. We've seen the door open at least one other time, but we didn't see anybody jump out. So we, at this point, we just assume there's more than just the driver that's in this F-150. Now northbound up the 14, making our way into the Lancaster area, and he's just being basically tracked by the helicopter at this point. They've tried to do, they've tried to stop this with a spike strip. That was unsuccessful, and we may see more attempts with a spike strip, but for right now, they were unsuccessful with the one they threw out in the Palmdale area. And we saw,
Good birthday, Sarah.
Basically, where the passenger had hopped out in the Palmdale area, there was an intersection there that was very congested, and we saw one black and white that was involved in an accident there. So at that point, they backed off some to give this guy some space as he was driving in the wrong way, opposite lanes of traffic on surface streets. He had barreled through a construction site. We saw the truck basically go airborne for a time with debris from the back of this truck flying all over the roadway. So here he is northbound up the 14 on his own. You can see he's going much faster than the other cars that are here on the 14 freeway. So certainly going fast. It looks like we have a sheriff's department that has moved in closer. It looks to be I can't read that back insignia. I thought maybe it was a canine unit. But nonetheless, we have at least one sheriff squad car that has caught up to this F-150. And we'll see where he decides to take us at this point. You can see some cones here on the...
Come on. I think they're the only ones out there.
Resident.
Ah, man.
During video conferences and
just basically keep converging.
Here.
David, I'm going to try and get another look at the F-150.
So, all right. So later on, let's see, what time is it? It's still a little early, but I need to go exercise. I don't want to wait too late to start it, but So I guess the safe bet. Maybe we could push it. 12:30, 1 hour, 1:30. There's a trial going on right now, Curly, about this bar fight that happened, and it turned out to be a murder. I was thinking we could watch the opening statements and see what we think, if it's interesting. Today is day 2. So yesterday was day 1. Mandy's watching that trial. She told me it's pretty interesting. I don't know anything about the case. I was reading a little bit about it now. And I figure between the opening statements from the prosecution is 33 minutes. The defense is 20 minutes. I figured we could watch that and kind of just for something to watch. There's another interesting story too, but that'll probably be later on today that I'd like to cover. But we can kind of decide if we're interested in the trial or not, or just kind of keep an eye on highlights. You on Facebook crazy. Oh, Chad Daybell too. I don't know. We could do Chad Daybell also as well later. Thank you, Debbie. Chad Daybell. Or should we do it before and leave the opening for the other thing later? Prophet murder trial.
By interested party, a venue. So scheduled before the court are various have any personal devices that relating to a request to strike the death penalty in this case. So on that motion, the court will permit and has considered briefing that was submitted by interested parties. Wendy Olson.
Manny, what about the wife? What's going on with the wife? Rex's wife. Email me, okay. Oh. When was this done?
Millions find a low
13 hours ago. Damn, the wife got $1 million deal from Peacock. The serial killer's wife. Coming on up. Yeah, baby. Keep on pushing.
suspected.
Damn.
Recently
Got that 13 mil, or the 1 mil. Damn, girl. $1 million deal. Coming on up.
Pretrial hearings. We shouldn't fix what isn't broken. This court made a very good decision. I believe it was in September or October of proceedings.
Soul Kitchen right here on.
All right.
And we think the court.
$1 million deal with Peacock. All right. I guess she's probably gonna tell her life story or like what it was like to live with the serial killer. What it was like. All right, so yeah, the plan is. Let's see what the plan is for today, man. I think I'm actually gonna set it for 2. Oh no, not 2. 2:30 when I'm back with the baby. Let's do the opening statements for this brawl or whatever. And then we'll figure out what we're going to do after that. After that, we can do something else. I don't know, whatever else pops up.
We actually raised this in the previous case before a preliminary hearing. Our concern, I'm going to talk quickly about pretrial hearings. Pretrial publicity can impede the ability of the parties to a fair and impartial trial.
Cameras and stuff like that.
This cannot be denied, and it rose its head in the last trial. Individuals who had seen specific media programs were automatically cut from the jury. we expect that issue will be raised again. And while the state doesn't necessarily agree with a wholesale cutting those individuals out, we understand the concern of when someone has consumed too much.
Is this the same judge as for Lori Daybell? It looks like it, right? I think it is. I didn't really follow that one too much, but if it is, I don't know. Why would they didn't broadcast it last time, right? They're probably just going to do maybe audio at the end of the day or something. I don't know. Knocked over this cup. So yeah, 2:30 Eastern. I'm gonna set the live stream. $2:30 Eastern on the main channel, all right? Main channel, 2:30 Eastern. We're gonna check out the opening statements for the brawl, and then from there, I don't know. I'll decide to see what we want to watch. I think this hearing, I don't know what too much. I think it's just gonna be about whether they have cameras or not. Maybe set some dates.
There is a difference between reporting, though, and the ability to live broadcast. And there's nothing in the law that states that they have to be able to live broadcast. In terms of trial, and I don't want to regurgitate everything that all the issues I raised in my briefing, there's a lot of people who are called to witnesses in this case who want nothing to do with it. They're not there because they want to be. They didn't get dragged into a triple murder, horrible case, a sordid case, because they wanted to be a part of it. And the state is concerned, and we think validly so, about the effect on witnesses of knowing their face is being plastered on TV for millions of people to see. It's already hard enough to get on a witness stand, be placed under oath, and then to be direct examined, to be cross-examined. Trial gets aggressive. And then to have that added pressure of knowing my next door neighbor can watch this. The people I go to church with can watch this. It's not conducive, especially in a case like this, with fair trial for either of the parties. We understand that the defendant has a different position on that. We believe strongly that having live broadcasting this trial only makes it more difficult to get to the truth of the matter. As stated before,
so the defense wants the cameras, the prosecution does not. That's interesting.
We do not believe that visual broadcasting is necessary for a transparent and a public trial. We believe in an open and public trial.
There you go. So, shut up.
Transparency does not require mass publicity.
Yeah.
And there's no rule, there's no law that says that it does. And I would note, and I put this in my brief, at the last trial, at Lori's trial, there was a lot of reporting, and it was minute by minute. I called it live tweeting. I don't know if there's a specific other phrase for that. But where multiple reporters in the courtroom or in the auxiliary room were able to live tweet, and that was great. I fully support that, and in as much as we are able to follow it, it appeared to be very accurate and timely. And so the public, the interested public, was able to follow by the minute what was happening in the trial. They didn't need to watch it. They still got that information. And again, as far as the state could tell, it was accurate information. It was a job well done by the individuals reporting on the case. And so not only that, there's a transcript. People can obtain the transcript. There was an audio recording that was provided at the end of each day. And so in terms of a transparent and public trial, we don't have to point cameras in people's faces for the trial to be open, transparent, and public. I would quickly note, the state is aware, many of the victims in this case feel differently than the state. I know there was news articles about that last time. We don't technically represent the victims. We respect them and their desires, and it's appropriate for the court
Even the victims
to know
want cameras.
they don't necessarily agree with us on this. And so if we keep the status quo, if we keep it where it's at, there's no risk of a non-public trial. There's no risk of a non-transparent trial. The state doesn't see an upside to bringing cameras into the courtroom. It worked well the last time. Again, we shouldn't fix what isn't broken. And I put this in my brief, and if the court decides to change its decision, we respectfully request a few things. We would ask, and this hasn't been an issue lately, and it wasn't an issue at the last trial, but just, I guess, preemptively, we would specifically request that no media microphones be placed at counsel's table, as took place in some of the other pretrial hearings. We believe that violates Idaho Court Administrative Rule 45C, or at least has a very grave ability to violate that rule. We would ask that the court consider alternatives to live visual broadcasting, such as still photography. And should the court allow visual broadcasting, we would ask that the court essentially retain tight control on that, at least while it's being done. As this court is aware, once video is made and public, the court loses any and all control by rule over what happens with it. But we would ask that the camera placement be limited. We think a good model would be Ms. Vallow or Ms. Daybell's sentencing, in which I believe there was a camera on the court and one camera pointing at the parties. There was no zooming in on attorneys, on witnesses, on victims. And so we would ask that if the court does change its decision, that it do so within that framework to maintain the fairness of the trial. Again, we do not believe that live broadcasting is necessary. Thank you.
All right, thank you for the argument, Mr. Wood. Mr. Pryor.
Judge, the primary reason for Mr. Daybell requesting the cameras is to allow his family to view the proceedings. They would like the opportunity to watch on TV and to see how the trial transpires, and those children that aren't going to be witnesses would like to be able to do that. It's extended family as well. That's our primary reason for doing that. I'm concerned about live streaming because that allows, in my opinion, less control. Cameras, in addition, in the courtroom, we'd lose a little bit of control as well. But I'd be more concerned about a cameraman who's, while this thing has been proceeding, has snapped 1,000 pictures of me and Chad while we're sitting here. That's a bigger concern for me than the actual cameras. We can't control what this cameraman's doing, and the pictures he's taken, he's been snipping along, and I'm sure I'll be seeing them with Mr. Eaton's website later today or tomorrow. The court, however, can put some conditions on a live camera. And on a live camera, like Mr. Wood pointed out, and I wholeheartedly, and quite frankly, Mr. Wood, I agree almost with everything you say. He makes a good, valid argument, Judge. However, the overriding concern is that when our founding fathers started the process of deciding that there would be a public trial, we didn't have cameras. We didn't have ability to broadcast this. And the idea behind a public trial was that if you brought allegations against someone and they wanted to answer those allegations, they should be able to do that in a public forum. And the stay of media and the amount of attention, and and I do disagree with Mr. Wood. East Idaho has been saturated with media attention on this case, but the reality is this is a national case. It has garnered tremendous attention. And a public trial is just not limited to people coming from Fremont County to sit in the courtroom and watch the proceedings. And having sat through the entire trial of Lori Vallow and watched the entire proceeding, there were issues with the live feed. I'm opposed to the live feed. I just didn't think it worked. It wasn't pragmatic. It wasn't practical. I think that let's use the professionals who know how to do this. I don't like the idea of a camera being pointed in my face for what's going to end up being 8 to 10 weeks. I dislike even more a photographer taking pictures of me while we're sitting here. And I'd much rather have a cameraman with that. And Mr. Wood pointed out some of the restrictions that we could apply. And I agree with what he said. No mics at the tables. I guess if you have to point the camera at Mr. Daybell and I, go ahead, and Mr. Wood and his group as well, and at the witnesses. But part of the reason behind a public trial, Judge, is accountability. And that's a big overriding factor. And when you're talking about due process and people having a fair right to a public trial, accountability is important. And as much as I don't like the idea of being on live TV, national TV, and I don't like the idea of it at all, the reality is it keeps everybody honest. It keeps the system honest. It keeps the witnesses honest. It keeps everybody honest. And and I'll disagree with Mr. Wood in just this regard. The fact that you have a camera on you, the fact that people are watching this in a public, much like when our founding fathers, you had to answer questions in a public forum, that makes the system honest. And that really is what the driving force, Judge, is allow the public to see this in an honest way, be able to see the entire evidence, not what press releases that people are releasing, not what certain news media report. Let's allow the public to see this in a public way and allow what really is should be a public trial. And again, allowing Mr. Daybell's family to review the proceedings. You can imagine, Judge, that if they show up to court, they would be inundated, whether it was here or anybody else, with the media hounding them and the victims as well, and everybody else who's involved in this, allowing them people to watch this in a public setting. There is one caveat. By doing this in a public with live cameras, Judge, that does create a concern for whether or not witnesses are watching the proceedings. And I guess I don't know how the court would address that, and that's something the court does need to look at. That doesn't change my position that I believe it should be a public hearing with cameras, but controlling how witnesses are limited in watching the media, and maybe the prosecutors and I could work out something with all of our witnesses saying, absolutely no opportunities to view this. If the court allows us to be a public trial with cameras, there's going to have to be some sort of an order that advises all of the witnesses that they are not under any circumstances to review the proceedings or view the proceedings. So that is a concern of mine, but I still stick with our original position that we need to have cameras in the courtroom, Judge. Thank you, Your Honor.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Pryor. Morning, Ms. Olson. I'll note now we'll hear argument from Attorney Wendy Olson, who's representing EastIdahoNews.com, the Idaho Statesman, Idaho Press Club, and States Newsroom, doing business as Idaho Capital Sun. Brief's been filed. The court's reviewed that, and if you'd like to present argument in support of your position, you can do so at this time.
Thank you, Your Honor. And thank you for allowing my clients to be heard this morning. As the court noted, the clients are 3 Idaho-based news entities, and then the Idaho Press Club, which is an association of journalists who work on a variety of First Amendment matters to ensure that they can have complete coverage of matters of important interest in the state of Idaho. Your Honor, the entities request the ability to have live audio and visual coverage of the proceedings in this case, consistent with Idaho Court Administrative Rule 45, in a way that will allow the defendant and the state to have their constitutional interests protected in a way that is designed to respect the privacy concerns of jurors and the sensitivities of witnesses, and to really observe the dignity of the courtroom. And I think, Your Honor, that the media entities that are before you here have done that in other cases, and they would want to work with the court on any restrictions the court thinks is important to maintain the dignity of the courtroom, to ensure that sensitive witnesses, maybe only their audio is heard at the time. They would want to work with the court to ensure that whatever guidelines the court imposes, that they would follow. But they think it's important to have cameras in the courtroom and have live audio visual coverage of the proceedings for several reasons. primarily among them, Your Honor, it's the point that Mr. Pryor touched on is that we are in an age now where visual coverage of just about every aspect of public life is there, where people really have the opportunity to see with their own eyes, not by sitting in a courtroom, but by sitting in their living rooms or sitting in their offices to watch those proceedings. The Kyle Rittenhouse trial had extensive coverage, TV coverage. Certainly the Derek Chauvin case did. That started out of COVID, but the judge after that realized the importance of having cameras in the courtroom. And then more recently, the Alex Murdaugh trial in South Carolina, where the coverage there was basically from the opening of the trial through the sentencings. And I think that the coverage in those cases showed how, with guidelines from the court, it allows the public to observe firsthand what goes on in the courtroom. I know the court indicated that you read our submittals, our pleadings. I would also ask the court to take particular note of Rebecca Boone's declaration, and where she talks about, she's worked with Idaho courts, Idaho journalists, the law school, to try to improve coverage of our court system. We learn a lot in the public about the executive branch and the legislative branch, but less is known about the judicial branch and how it operates. And I think it's important for people to be able to see firsthand what happens in a trial. How is evidence presented? I think it's important, to the point that Mr. Wood raised, that it's important for them to see the impact that participating in a trial demands from the people who participate in it. It is no doubt, Your Honor, that the criminal justice system, the system that I participated in for most of my legal career, is very hard on the participants. It demands a lot of people. It demands a lot of the lawyers, the court, of the jurors, of the witnesses, of the family members. And I think that covering the proceedings live will allow the public to understand that better, because it is still a relatively rare thing for people to have firsthand involvement in any aspect of court proceedings. I think secondly, Your Honor, why it would be important and helpful to the court to have live audio and visual coverage is it would reduce the demand, frankly, for space in the courtroom. It's my understanding that the attendance at this hearing by the public is less than in past hearings, and maybe that's because the court elected to broadcast this live through the YouTube channel that the courts have used. Certainly, that will help the court with security and with other administrative needs and getting the trial done in a way that is most efficient. And so we think for that reason as well, it would be important to have live audio and visual coverage of the proceedings. And finally, Your Honor, with respect to how that is done, again, the media organizations want to make sure that they are working with the court on all of those things. And I know that the proceedings are being done through the court's technology today, but I would invite the court to not do it that way at the trial if the court allows visual proceedings. And that's really for several reasons, Your Honor. First, it is because the journalists who are experienced camera operators, typically who will do the pool reporting, they have more sensitive cameras, better cameras, and more sensitive microphones that could be placed, not at counsel table, but somewhere else if that is the court's direction. In addition, Your Honor, the court would not have to worry about whether or not there are any technical glitches if the cameras are being operated by the pool camera reporter. Of course, neither the parties nor the court nor the jurors, no anybody would want to have interruptions during the proceedings because there was some glitch in the technology. And then I think, Your Honor, again, with having the members of the press who are experts in operating their camera, they would work with the court to ensure that there isn't anything unnecessarily intrusive if they were the ones to operate the equipment, as was done, I think, at Ms. Vallo's sentencing. And so I think for all of those reasons, Your Honor, our clients would like to see the live audio and visual coverage of the proceedings. I well understand, too, both Mr. Pryor's and Mr. Wood's concerns about witnesses watching things that they should not watch before they testify. There's nothing sort of less comfortable as a prosecutor to know your witnesses have received outside information, and then that comes in at cross-examination. And of course, we want to make sure that jurors aren't watching the proceedings. With respect to the jurors, Your Honor, and them reading coverage of the case once they've been set, that's a concern in every trial. The court gives firm instructions about that. And I think as media has evolved, the court's instructions on those issues have had to change over time to include, for example, social media. I know in the federal courts, there's a social media instruction that's given all the time now about don't look at social media when you're a member of the jury. And this court can certainly craft instructions that would cover all of the concerns the court would have with respect to the jurors potentially watching anything that comes from the live audio and visual coverage of the trial. Of course, hopefully they wouldn't be watching while the trial was going on. And then, Your Honor, with respect to the witnesses, it really was incumbent upon the parties, and Mr. Pryor alluded to it, to speak to their witnesses and firmly instruct them not to watch and not to be influenced by any other evidence. It's no different than telling them don't talk to other witnesses about their testimony. It's important that their testimony be from their own independent recollection. And those are challenges that are present in every kind of case. And here they're even more so because of the prior trial of Ms. Daybell. And so we would ask the court that in considering those factors, do the things that the court and the parties typically do, which is to give very firm instructions. Thank you, Your Honor.
All right. I do have a few questions for you, Ms.
Sure.
Wilson. Reading through your brief, you go through some policy arguments about why it's important to have cameras in the courtroom for these proceedings. One of your captions is it will help enhance the public's understanding of court proceedings and promote respect for the rule of law. I'll note in my background, I did some federal criminal defense work. I was a CJA attorney for about 15 years, and I believe you were the U.S. attorney for Idaho during the time I was CJA attorney. In the federal courts, they simply have a Rule 53 that there is no permitting of any photographs.
So, all right, I'm gonna head out there. If you want to continue watching that, I'll drop the link. It's on Law and Crime. They're gonna be arguing whether there's gonna be cameras allowed or not. I don't know. If I had to guess based off of the last, I mean, they're making some decent arguments. I mean, I would think that maybe they're gonna go with what they did with Lori and like be like, maybe after we'll just give the audio out or whatever they did for Lori, and for sentencing have the cameras or whatever. But maybe they'll make a compelling argument. Who knows? Maybe they'll do something where they all agree to whatever stipulations they each have. So anyway, I pushed it back. You think he's going to allow it? Chris says he's going to allow live feed. If he does, that's going to be very interesting. There's a lot of interesting stuff happening. You know, the Kohlberger stuff, the trial, whenever that happens, the Harmony Montgomery trial, whenever that happens, the Tupac trial, when that happens mid next year. Next year's going to be popping with trials. I set up the new stream. I ended up setting it up for 3 because I figured let me take my time when I come back with the baby for a little bit to get things set up and get her comfortable, and then I'll jump on. So I set it for 3, right? That's my stream right there. I'm going to redirect this after as well. And I think it's going to be interesting because I think they show some video or still images or something from the bar fight. I'll read a little bit of the story. I'll do a little synopsis. I'll read an article, and we'll just watch the opening statements. Just chill and see what we want to do with that. And then whatever else happens today happens. Who knows if we get into the chase or whatever. I'm going to go get a little run, a little jog, get the blood flowing, get the energy rolling, feel good. All right. So I'll catch you guys in, I guess, 2